All right. Looks like we are any minute now, people. Any minute we should be live. And I hope I sound a lot better. I'm so grateful for all of you. Now today's show, it's gonna be a very interesting one. Do me a favor first, because I got to tell you, I was a little stressed because I had all sorts of issues. I mean, I didn't even get to change. I'm still wearing what I was wearing at the gym. Now, is anybody hearing me? Can you hear me okay? Is the audio good? I want to make sure this is great, because I got to tell you, man, this show is this is gonna be a good one. So let me see here. We got Shane. Sounds good. Oh, right on. Enoch, thank you. Michael, Craig, Stevens, Ha, Jacob. Hey, everybody. I am the man. Well, you are too, Nicholas. Thank you. I want to thank all of you. My goodness, this is going to be a crazy show. Everything changed. Let me pull up my screen here. Everything changed. I had I had a really great idea where I wanted to go with the show, and I had it planned out. I've been planning it for a whole week. And then today, of course, last minute, everything changes. You know, I'm at the gym, and I remember all of these little bits of the breadcrumbs, right? All these little breadcrumbs start forming. And then today, the final one hits, and I go, oh my goodness, this show, it's all about man's quest for immortality. Man trying to be, God. Big problem with that. Living forever. Could you imagine with the way people are today, right? With how corrupt people are today, and how selfish and how cruel. And the powerful, they're the ones that are worst of all, right? Those less than the 1%ers. Could you imagine if they had unlimited amount of time? And of course, they'd be able to do it because they would have the money to do it if it were possible. They'd live as gods, which is interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about that show, Altered Carbon. But man, talk about a different direction. I wanted to talk about, from the beginning, I was going to talk about Facebook. Okay, so a lot of you know probably by now, they're all about that facial recognition. They want that software to be installed by everybody. Now, how I came to know about this was because I got a little. I kept going. When I'd go to Facebook, just to post this week's video or whatever else, I'd see one thing after another, and it was like, Facebook's beginning this trial. Would you please? It's so much better for safety, and it's so much better. So if you want people to tag you in photos, or you don't want people to tag you in photos, this is the way Zuckerberg talks in private. I'm telling you, talks just like that. Just like that. The use of facial recognition by the social media site was first announced in December of last year. We all knew about it. I did a show about it. Check it out. It'll allow users to locate photos they haven't been tagged in, be alerted of such. Facebook said that the aim of the technology is to alert users when another individual is using their profile. Catfishing them, they say. Right. Biometrics, man. It's everywhere. It's like the big thing. We have so many cameras all over the place that, you're constantly under surveillance from these AI algorithms that are doing everything they can to keep you spied on, right? And you know that it's running in the background, and you know that biometrics is... See, here's the thing, okay? They already have access to our biometrics, and I did a show called something like the Mark of the Biometric Beast, if you want to learn more about it, but I'm going to try to keep this portion of the show short, because I want to get all the stuff out of the way that I wanted to talk about, and then I want to get into really what the show's about. But biometrics, it's... the Homeland Security guy just said, everyone is going to be safer, once everybody is biometrically scanned and inputted into a system. So of course you can be pulled out of a lineup anywhere. You could be walking down the street, not doing anything, but maybe your YouTube video touched on a subject that no one wants, and next thing you know, you're in trouble. Perhaps, you just get erased completely. You don't even exist anymore, which is it's a whole other show. It has to do with the cashless society that we're moving towards. It's a scary day. Just Elon Musk. Elon Musk was just at he was just at some big convention, and he was talking. He was in an interview. If you get a chance, just type in like YouTube, like Elon Musk within the last week interview. And he says in that interview, once again, he kind of like doubles down on his belief that AI is not a good thing, and that we saw that in that movie Slaughterbots. Remember, he's very opposed to Elon is very opposed to even the invention of artificial intelligent, drones, or once you give these artificial intelligent algorithms, license to decide who's a threat and who to kill. And of course, you enter their Facebook biometrics, because people, they don't know any better, so they see that little pop-up and they say, yeah, sure, and then they agree to it. Slowly but surely, right? Like the dumbing down of society, and they're getting us excited for our change, which is just nuts. I did the show on that Slaughterbots. If you remember, it was really kind of a spooky thing. It was a professor. He basically did this video because he didn't think that people were taking the AI threat seriously enough. Here you see on the screen, there's just a picture from it. In the Slaughterbots short, there's swarms of these AI-controlled drones that are carried on strikes, and they have like a little bit of explosive inside of them. And basically, once they lock on to the target's biometrics, nothing can stop them, nothing can stand in their way, because they're superhuman. And that's kind of a spooky thing, if you think about it. Because right now we already have that technology, and right now we're already using it. How much longer is it going to take before it's being used on all of us? I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try to, as we go, I'm going to try to check the chat room out. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you once again. I see a couple of people already supporting. Thank you, Shawnee. That's really awesome of you. And man, I really appreciate all that you guys do. Hey, George, what's happening? Yeah, I hope that is this so far. Are we doing good? Is everything all right? Can you tell me in the chat? I'm doing good, Roberto, but can everybody hear me okay? I want to make sure that I'm not just talking for no apparent reason, oh man, I love your work too. Thank you. So I guess I'm going to take it that we're doing good, that we're live, and everything's is pretty good. Yes, sir. Thumbs up. Awesome. Hey, Camille, how are you? Crypto, Brian Bash. Wow, I love this. Don't forget to stick around after the show. I'm gonna stay on the chat with you all. I'm still trying to learn about all these features, the super chat feature and the this, that, and the other thing feature. But yeah, let's get back to the show. I also wanted to talk about this great radio burst. Man, spooky, right? These long distance radio waves, they're hitting the earth on a regular basis. Well, we just recorded like the brightest one ever, from what I understand. And it's a repeating one. So, what it does is it kind of like lends to the possibility that, in fact, we can indeed communicate over, not just light years, but time as well, right? So the astronomers at the Parkes Observatory, and I actually like the way I said it the first time. Astronomers at the first observatory in Australia have observed the brightest fast radio burst known to science. Okay, so this was just recent. And once again, it was something that I thought was important, But lo and behold, another show comes out, and wait till we get to this. I just want, I'm going to get the rest of this stuff out of the way really quick. Let's talk about that an amateur scientist discovered this mysterious new aurora in Canada, and they named it Steve. I just love that. Hey, it's Steve, Steve. Not the most popular name, but it actually stands for something. I don't know what it stands for. You can look it on up. But wow, man, this thing, it's actually pretty beautiful. But why are we just discovering this stuff now, right? Like, why all of a sudden is like, are we seeing these things? That's because there are changes going on. Things are changing at a rapid pace, not just, here in the physical, but in the spiritual. And the spiritual is what really I'm after. And when I say that, I don't want you to get all, let me see, I'm going to go to the chat room again. I don't want you to, I know a lot of you who stick around, you don't get freaked out by all this stuff. You don't get freaked out by this. But there's some that are like, oh, you get a little too religious, or there are others that are like, you don't get enough religious, and you can't please everybody. I'm just here to do what I can do. And I really believe that if you all come along for the ride, you'll be glad that you did. So now I had just covered about the astronomer, Scott Kelly. I had just talked about him in one of my latest videos. And what's interesting about this was I didn't catch on to what it was really all about. I didn't understand really that this had to do with, they're not saying this is what it's all about, but it is. It's about infinite life, eternal life, living forever, reversing the age, the age of one's lifespan, giving us the ability to become immortal. Now, I know a lot of people say that's not true. But NASA had done this experiment with the twins, which, by the way, if you take a look at them right now, don't tell me that the guy on the left doesn't look like at least 3 years older than his brother, who's his identical twin. You know what I mean? And look at this guy. The dude looks older. And why would that be? Is it possible that something happened when Scott Kelly was 505 days in space? Yes, actually, that's what happened. Believe it or not. I had touched on the telomeres, which, let me see if I can pull up a picture of this so you can see what a telomere is. I had explained this to somebody on the elliptical machine just a little while ago. He said, what's your new show on? I said, it's about, we're talking about telomeres. They're basically, okay, so imagine like a chromosome, okay? Imagine a shoelace, how's that, okay? The telomeres would be like the plastic part. There'd be the tip, the tips that are on the ends that basically protect everything within it, okay? So, telomeres, they're essential. They're essential part of the human cell, and how it affects, pay attention to this, aging. Isn't that interesting? Aging, of all things. I wonder if that's what this project is about. I don't know. Telomeres, they also protect vital information in our DNA. DNA makes up every single cell in the body, okay? So you get that. So telomeres, they're what protects them. And see what happens as we age, these telomeres, they kind of shrink down. And as they shrink down, you get older. And as you get older, you begin to deteriorate and die. So they sent Scott Kelly out there, and he came back, and 7% of his DNA, I think, permanently altered. In 2017, researchers discovered that the end caps, these telomeres that I'm talking about, they became longer while he was in space. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Because if the shortening of the telomeres brings about the aging process, well, perhaps the lengthening of the telomeres has something to do with reversing the age of one's life. Reversing the age process. Is it possible? You see, now, a lot of people don't know this, but this is true. The human body it's not designed to really die. It does. It's like a virus. They don't even understand why. We're built to continue to reproduce cells. Every single cell of our body, I don't exactly know the time frame, but every single cell of our body, everything, it replaces itself. So like in a couple of years, you're 100% completely not the same person you are right now. I mean, spiritually you are, but your body, your, as they call it in altered carbon, what was it called? A shell? Not a shell, I think. They called it your, who cares? We'll get into that in a second. Your body, it's like a car, right? Car breaks down, you get a new car. So researchers are really, really working on trying to get, a handle on this aging thing. That's why I used that wonderful thumbnail at the beginning of the show. Because, in the beginning, mankind, he was eternal. He was infinite. And then he ate of that tree and he died. He was 930 years old or so. And then, of course, what happens is then violence and evil persists. And then God then decides, that's it. You're only going to live to 120. That's all in the Bible, which is interesting. Because if you look at the chromosomes and you look at the genetic makeup of the human body, you start to see that it indeed can live 120 years, easy. We have people that are living 110, 115, something like that, I guess. So, I have a feeling that this was 100% on NASA's list, right? We're gonna, because they're trying to become like God themselves. Isn't that the truth? Right there, by the way, is a picture of Adam. I just thought it was a cool picture because he was formed in the dust of the earth. And if you know anything about Scripture, and a lot of people don't, I know. Look, I'm not a church, and I'm not a pastor, and I'm not a prophet, and I'm a seeker man, and I'm somebody that 100% knows that there is more to life than what you're living. I know. Because, the miraculous things that have happened in my life, from coming from nothing to getting to where I am now, to knowing where I'm going. My goodness gracious, people. It's like, if you think that this is all you got, no, it's not. But the problem is, man is so corrupt right now, in the core. This world is so, that if man were to live forever, could you imagine? Right now, look at society the way it is. People don't even care. That's why you see these school shootings, and because human life, it's begun to mean nothing, which is exactly what this whole programming has been all about for the last how many years. Tune into Tuesday's show, by the way. It's going to be an interesting one, for sure. I don't even want to give you any because the madness of it. It's absolutely insane. But now, if you think about Adam for a second, okay? Now, Adam in Hebrew, just so you know, it means mankind as a whole. That's what it means. Mankind. It also means ruddy, red. Well, Adam was formed, as you see in that picture, out of the dust of the earth, and in Scripture, dust is symbolic of lies, idolatry, imagination. So basically, stuff that isn't real. You could actually call dust, because if you go around your house and you dust, what you're actually dusting is your dead flesh, right? There's no life in it. It's death. So that first man brings death into the world. Your physical body is physically dying. Why? Because our lifespan was shortened. These telomeres, right? I'm not a geneticist. So we've been formed in this imagination, this idea of who we think we are, right? If I go to the chat room and I come over here and I take a look and I see Heidi saying, "Respect you, Jacob," and I say, "I respect you, Heidi Johnson, thank you." And then I say, "Hello, Shawnee, how you doing there? Oh, I'm so grateful that you're giving back, thank you." But who are you? Who are you really? If I say to my boy, Buzzed, right, who I say, "I see you," who are you? And you give me your name? That's not who you are. You haven't even chosen your name. A lot of people don't even know that they can choose their own name. They can choose who they want to be. God's name in the Scriptures is "I am that I am." When Moses was sent over to go talk to the Pharaoh, God told Moses, "Tell them, I am that I am sent me." So when he says, "Who is your God?" Moses would answer, "I am that I am." Moses was saying, basically, if you're hearing me, you're hearing the one that sent me. That's what Jesus said as well. But that I am actually literally means I will be whatever I will be. But the first man, Adam, the one formed in the dust, the one who thinks that his name is Highwayman, or All Is One Now, Isn't that, you like how I do that? Or Nathan Oakes. If you think that's who you are, that's an image, man. That's the first man. That's the dead man. That's the one that's physically dying. That's the one that has hang-ups and fear. And that's not who you are. Now you're more than that. That's why there's a second Adam. There's a second man that comes on the scene. But here's the problem. Today, no one's trying to come to that second man. No. And that's the flaw, right? They're trying to stay in this first carnal man. And they want to live in this nonsense forever. So they're doing things like they're trying to download brains onto computers. They're like companies that are actually working on this right now, trying to download your consciousness. They're startups that billions of dollars, I'm sure, is being poured into this. And why wouldn't they, right? Years ago, they actually completely mapped the entire makeup of the mind of a worm. And not only did they do that, they then transferred the consciousness. Actually, it was more almost like a duplicate. Imagine everything that you are in computer code, copied, and then placed into this. A robot. I showed a video in this. I've done a video on this too. You can look it up. Maybe I'll share it at the end of the video. But when you see this thing bouncing into the walls and moving around, and you understand there's like this Frankenstein moment where you're like, why would you do such a thing? It's interesting. It's interesting to me. It's a scary, scary day that we're in right now. Man was at first immortal, according to the scriptures. And then man decided to be God. And then what happens? Well, he died. 930 years old Adam lived. 930! I'll give you a little interesting side note here, okay, guys? Jesus said something. This is I'm going to put this picture back up in a second. Let me make them alive to you, because this is something that's really fascinating to me. Okay. Jesus said something. He said, "This generation shall not pass until all of these things be accomplished." And nobody knows what that means, right? Because they're like, a lot of people think that there's some disciples that are like, they're like immortals. They're walking around saying, "There shall only be one," like Highlander or something. But the generation is not just a 120 years or so. What if the generation is all of mankind in the span of almost 7,000 years? Now this is a big debate. See, a lot of people have problems with this when they, this is a big Bible debate where, the world is only 6,000 years old. And then, of course, there are other scriptures that say with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years. So that really kind of says that time isn't really important when it comes to, the grand scheme of things, the creator of all. But to think that the earth was 6,000 years old, I get that. I get it because it says that in scripture. But really, it's talking about this generation. Now, I wrote an essay once on my website. I tried to find a picture of it. I've like 300 or something. I don't know, like 300 or something essays on my website. If you get a chance, go to whichjacobisrael.com. It's free. Please do subscribe there, because if anything ever happens here, I'll be able to upload my videos there. It's my website. It's been there forever. And it's interesting. So, mankind. So Adam lives 930 years, and then evil then reigns. So then God says, I'm gonna cut it to 120. And so what does man do? Man, instead of saying, what is the point of this? Let me seek more. Let me understand that, this flesh means nothing, that I am, that there's that spirit of God that is in all and through all, even if people don't understand it. All there is, according to the Bible, just so you know, people, it's God. That's all there is. And everything has its existence in that. But religion says that, there's some people that God is not in. There's a problem with that, because you start thinking that, and then it's a lie. And how can you ever find the truth of who you are if you think that you're just some mortal guy that's going to die in a certain amount of time, you know? Now, I did an essay about this. I thought it was pretty fascinating because if you add up, like you can literally go to the Bible right now and you can add up how many years Adam lived, how many years Seth lived, and so on. And there's a clever way of doing it. You have to use your brain, but you can take the whole of the scriptures and bring it up to Jesus, and that would be what we would call the third day. Which is interesting because on the third day, Jesus is said to rise, right? A day is like 1,000 years. So at 3,000 years, now this would be the seventh day, like legitimately. You know, we're entering into, we're 2,000 years or so from when Jesus was on the scene, which would make this that we're entering into the seventh day. I find that fascinating that you can literally add all of that up. There's something to this, people. Something to this. It's important. And that's why I think that, you know, now that they're trying to download consciousness into computers, they're trying to be God. You know, they want to live forever. Walt Disney was one of them, right? Come on, we know about Disney and his love for Frozen, right? Walt was like, he was a kooky dude, man. Some people say that he was a visionary, but I would say that he was a very disgusting man, much like a lot of the people that are in power. Which brings me back to my important topic. What in the world would happen if these horrible people are allowed to live forever? And if you don't think that that's going on, if you don't think, people, that this is the direction that we're heading, well, we're heading there. Art imitates life, life imitates art. In this show, by the way, if you get a chance, check it out. Altered Carbon. Really, really cool show, man. It really opens your eyes to how just corrupt people can be. Before I go into this next part of the show, I want to just hit over here into the chat room. Oh my goodness. Okay, well listen, you know, I thank you so very much, free man. I mean, people are, really is just, it just blows my mind how incredibly cool all of you are. Yes, and you're right. Listen, MS Bideth, you're right. The Bible is filled with contradictions. Now, a lot of people won't tell you that, right? But guess what? It's only filled with contradictions if you look at it one way, completely. If you look at it completely literally, totally filled with contradictions. So is any holy book, right? Hi, Cat. Oh, my goodness. And thank you all, by the way. Yeah, Ethan's show. He is so excited. He's up to like almost 400 something subscribers already. We have a lot of cool shows. If you have children, yeah, you got to check them out. I'll put the link in the description. I think it's already there. Thank you so much, y'all, for helping him out. The guy's been asking me for so long. But let me get back on topic here. Because this is an important discussion. Walt Disney, you know, he was preoccupied with this stuff. So yes, you know, it's the reports are true. He's cryogenically frozen somewhere, right? And if you think that this is just science fiction and a bunch of malarkey, well, guess what? Last year, a woman in China was cryogenically frozen. Like, people, right? It's insane to me. It is completely bonkers to me, the day that we're in. And this is why I'm always smiling. Do you have any idea how cool this all is? All this stuff coming together right now at this very moment, which just happens to be that seventh day, right? That's the day, by the way. That's the Sabbath rest. See, religion messes everything up. It's going to make it about a literal day. It's on Saturday. No. They convinced you it's Saturday, and but it's really Sunday. And then the other ones say, no, it's not Sunday. That's not according to the Jewish calendar. This Saturday. Everybody's arguing. What did Paul say? People get into fights over new moons, holidays, this, that, whether you eat meat, you don't eat meat, whether you have almond milk with gluten-free waffles or you have milk with chocolate chip waffles. That's like 9:30 at my house when the boys come on out. We make a little snack. We have a little snack time. Doesn't matter, right? Everything's food with me, people. But when you have them freezing people, because they want to what? They want to live forever. How's that song go? Who wants to live forever? Pretty much everybody. Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. People don't even really know that we're already dead to begin with, and that's why we're physically dying. It's appointed, the scriptures say it's appointed for man to die once, then comes the judgment. And everybody thinks that means that, that you die at the end physically and then you're judged. But really, the judgment is going on right now. We're already dead. In Adam, all men are dead. And mankind, which is, Adam means mankind. Like I said, it's a picture of all of us. In the first man, we're all dead. We're all ignorant. In the first man, we're all sad. We're all stressed out and we're all just barely getting by. But in the last man, in the Christ man, infinite. And that's where we're heading. That's the hope of glory. And according to the scriptures, it says that that day is coming. But it's not coming the way everybody thinks. That's the problem. Everybody has this idea of how it's all going to go down. And yet they argue over whether the Sabbath is a Saturday or a Sunday. Jesus used to argue with the Pharisees over whether you can eat or whether you can heal. I mean, these are ridiculous conversations. Meanwhile, the Sabbath is a day, one day, that you finally enter into rest. You enter into that day that you know that it's no longer I that live, but Christ that lives. That day that you understand who you really are. And forgot. Because that first man, the guy that you think you are right now, the person you think you are right now, with all the problems and the addictions and the woe-is me's, that first man, that's the dead man. That's the one that's dying. But there's this other man that comes after the first man. And that's why I'm always saying, teach me the truth no matter what the cost. Seek, 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 seek. It's for everybody to enter in. Not just those that are cryogenically frozen. So yeah, they may be doing this stuff, They may be cloning monkeys. We just heard about that, right? The monkey was cloned. Could you imagine you could clone the monkey completely? Well, obviously, human beings, we already know that's happening. You can clone a monkey, which is very close genetically. But now you add into the equation the fact that, you can map the human mind completely. See, they said a couple of years ago that was impossible. A couple of years ago, because we were in Adam, right? It's impossible. You can't do it because we don't have computers that are strong enough. But then you invent this thing called a quantum computer. And it has such computing power. Who's to say that it can't map our consciousness, make a copy of it, and put us smack dab in the middle of one of them skins. That's the name of it. That's what it was called on Altered Carbon. It's called the skin. Who's to say? It's probably what they're working on. And they're definitely working. They're working on with the telomeres and space. I mean, the picture of those two astronauts together. That picture, alone. Come on, you can't tell me that one of them doesn't look older than the other. They were identical twins until he went to space. It's fascinating stuff, people. It's incredibly fascinating stuff. What do you think? Let's go over to the chat room and let's see. Hi there. Thought it was called a sleeve. You're right. Thank you, Tammy. It's a sleeve. Oh, this is why I love you all. Tammy got it right. It wasn't a skin. It was called a sleeve. I love the show too. And basically, what they had was they had these little they had these little things where you would download your basically information. That's all we are. That's what they say. That's why a lot of people think that we already live in a simulation to begin with, right? I mean, I've done shows on those. Perhaps that explains Steve. Perhaps that explains the Mandela effect. Perhaps it explains a lot. Now, does that discount? There's some people that are going to say that if we're living in some kind of a simulation, that somehow it discounts the idea of God, which is malarkey, people. Absolute malarkey, because you would still exist. All you are is spirit to begin with. And what is spirit? A lot of people don't even know what spirit is. Jesus said, my words are truth and my words are spirit. And words are spoken thought. Spirit is thought. That's all we are. I shouldn't say that's all we are, because that's all there is. There is thought, and then there is the spoken thought. And who originated it all? The creator of all. The Steve Aurora is fascinating, Camille. Yeah, I know, it's cool. It's interesting. A lot of this stuff is interesting. And I think in the next couple of months, we're going to see a lot of interesting things go down. And I hope you're all ready for that, because I certainly am. I mean, I am 100% ready to jump in and do what I'm called to do, whatever that is. I'm trying to find the altered carbon picture here. There it is. I want to pull that up again. With cloning, with the mapping of the mind, with the advent of the quantum computer, and the fact that with faith, here's the big thing, people. I'm gonna come live to this one, because this is like one of these things that you really should listen to, because with faith, all things are possible. And that's why when all of this stuff is happening, every time that carnal man, that first man, Adam man, because there's that first Adam and then there's the last Adam. There's the dead man and then the living man, the killer, the one that brings death into the world, and the shepherd. You've seen this if you've watched my channel enough times. It's a beautiful picture of all of us, right? What did the messenger say to Sarai? There are two nations at war within you, but the elder shall serve the younger, or the younger shall serve the elder shall serve the younger, because the elder is the first one. Okay, so the first idea, the you that you are right now, Helen, the you that you are right now, Leslie, Patrick, damn Von Bon Daisy. I love that. By the way, I loved your name. And by the way, Fortnite. My children play that. My men. They're incredibly good at it. I'm gonna try to get them to talk about their gaming experience, because they're actually doing stuff over at Twitch. Pete says, when the shish hits the fan, what are you saying? Where is it? Where'd it go? Slow down. So the stream, when the shish hits the fan. I lost you. I'm sorry. I hope that I'm still, do I sound good? Oh, the sound quality's great. You must have read my mind, real big D1. Fake alien attack, April 1st. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Is that something that you'd be worried about? I'm not too stressed about it. I don't know, are you? You know what I'd be worried about? I'd be worried about the fact that everybody's trying to become this. That all those up in charge they're trying to prolong their life, as opposed to finding out what life really is. And that life is available to all of us. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything, I'm grateful that I get a chance to share all this with you, because I've had an interesting life. For somebody that was abandoned as a baby at 6 months, left in a project. Biological father takes off. My mother's a teen mom, 18 years old. For that to then become where I am now, where I'm thriving and I have this beautiful family. And I always have just more than I need. It's like, I have debt like anything else. I work 2 jobs. I'm a hard worker, and that's, but I know that it's all working together for the good of those like you and me as well. Because as you're learning here, I'm learning. As you're growing, I'm growing. Because we're growing together, because when this stuff happens, guess what's going to happen? That new life. That new life that I've been talking about for how long? How long I've been saying that? That new life. That's what being born again is. People don't even get that. In religion, they teach you, you come in, you say a couple of magic words, and then poof, you're saved. And then your wife leaves you, your husband cheats on you, your children strung out on drugs. But you're born again, right? It's not living. That's death. And we know who that man is, right? That's the dead man. Where is he? Where is he? The dead man is Adam. That's not who you're going to be. The first you, the sad you, the angry you, the hurt you, the I can't get ahead you, the nothing goes my way you, the oh I'm alone you, the I'm a miserable wretch you. That you doesn't even exist. It was formed in the dust of the earth. Formed. Your mom and your dad or whoever raised you said, your name is this. Then they tell you got to believe this. And then they say things like, that's okay, but you can't give somebody the middle finger. Like, I can't even do that because I could get flagged. But it's just a finger. Death. You eat of that knowledge of good and evil, Adam. What did he say? And you're going to die. That day you die. Adam died that day that he ate of the tree, and yet he didn't physically die until he was 930 years old. Think about that for a second. The day you eat of that tree, you're going to die. He eats of the tree, and then he physically lives for how many more years? Because the death that Scripture is talking about, I wish I could pull the Scripture up, I just didn't prep it, because I don't know where these things go, right? The death that Scripture is talking about is to be carnally minded as death, to be ignorant. So, and once again, you don't have to go to church. You don't have to be a Baptist, a Pentecostal, a Mormon, a Jehovah's Witness, a Muslim, a Taoist. You don't have to be any of these things because you are already. You get that? But you've believed yourself to be something that was formed in this horrible place, right? And it's not a horrible place, it's a beautiful place. But the problem is, man in his carnal nature decides, I want to be God, and he exalts himself above God. And what happens? He brings a bunch of misery and a bunch of pain into the world. And that's exactly what's going down now. That's exactly why Walt Disney was revealed to be the perv that he was, right? Because it is kind of a horrific thing to think that you could just, as if your physical body is all you are. Everybody's so scared about what happens after death, physical death. Meanwhile, they're not even living their lives. How many people aren't even living your lives? How many people are like that worm in the robot just bouncing around? A lot of people. You know, I at times I'm like that worm as well. Because, you know, we have this tempter. It's like there's almost this, there's like this other voice in our head. And it's been formed there. It's like a program. We've been programmed. And you see how easy it is to program people into right now. You have how many children don't even know what gender they are. And once again, I'm not speaking out against people who have these issues. But why? Because it's programming. It's programming. Little words have power. Words, the power of life and death is in your tongue. You don't have to be a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu to understand these concepts. Because ultimately, you know, all God wants is for you to seek. That's it. Teach me the truth. You know, even the word God, you don't even know where it came from. Even the word Jesus, you don't know where it came from. It's not the literal name. Like you people get into they get into dogmatic arguments, and I have to answer people because they say that I'm this or I'm that, and they don't even get it. The Pharisees, the ones that were the religious, you know, leaders of the day, they're the ones that killed the truth. They're the ones that, you know, wanted the truth gone, dead, and look where that left them. And what did he call them? He called them, they were children of the devil. Think about that for a second. I think it's interesting that the devil spelled backwards is lived. So many people are polluted by the lies that they've been programmed through the life they've lived, and it follows them. Right? And yet, in the here and the now is the present. Big gift there. Let me go to the chat room, and I don't know, maybe I'll take some questions really quick before I get out of here, because the Dan's coming home soon. And first, I'd like to acknowledge some people. I just want to, my children said, you got to understand, when I started this live stream, guys, let me pull up a nice picture of Steve so you can look at Steve while I'm looking. Steve! Where are you, Steve? Come on, Steve! It's pretty, man. With the, where are you, Steve? You're hiding on me. The radio bursts. No, not there. There you go. There you go, Stevie. There you go. Pretty, right? The Milky Way in the background there, Child's Lake in Canada. And pull this up right now. Greg, thank you. Greg Courtney. Freeman says, I've been a follower for years, and the Lord is, oh, you know what? I mean, I got to tell you something. The Lord, that word Lord, translated in Greek, which is very cool if you think about this, it means the existing one, or the one who exists. So the one who exists is hopefully using you as well, and I'm sure, without a shadow of doubt, that's happening. Same with Shawnee. The same with all of you in the chat room here. You know what? You know what's beautiful, Shane? You're beautiful, man. And Deborah, you're beautiful. And Skywatcher Nibiru Planet X is beautiful. And I love Squirtle too, Buzzed. It's my voice, by the way. Squirtle, Squirtle. Ethan is like fired up about this thing. I got to tell you something. I finally have I have the one child that wanted to go into the arts. The arts was my lifeline. You know, when I was sick. A lot of people don't know I was very, very ill for a long time. You grow up in a very wealthy town, you're poor and you're sick, and because of the medication you're on, you're half broken down. People used to call me half a pizza, and you can't play sports because you're sick all the time. And so what do? You go into acting. And man, I was good at that. I was good at pretending that I was other people. Who isn't? I was comfortable in characters, and I loved it. I loved that. Got a scholarship. First one in my family to go to college, graduate. Big deal. Got a scholarship. It was a big deal, and I loved it. I remember my professor told me. He said to me, it's not as easy as you think. And I said, not only will I be I'll make it in this world that I'm destined. I said that I will write a movie. I'll star in it, and I'll call you up, and you'll be a part in it. And I got to tell you, true story. A year and a half after I graduated college. Because I started a theater company, one of the guys, John Doria, who's an amazing musician, by the way, out in Cali. Check out his band. I'll put a link below. Check him out. He gave me my first real big break, and it was a movie starring Alan King. A movie that it was John's story, and it was a screenplay that I wrote, and it needed a part. So I gave that little teacher of mine, who actually was very influential in me, but like that insecure kid that grew up, I never got the approval that I was looking for, no matter where I was. And I see now that was meant to be. There was a reason for it, because it molded me into the man that I am now. The desire to be loved by others makes one love others in a great way. And I got to tell you, I've been rewarded because of it. I've continued to be, the man that I believe I'm meant to be. I've known. I set a course for my life. I have that course. There's a great scripture that says God gives you the desires of your heart. Buzz, stop watching right around right. 99 to 2001. You know why? Not only but they lost half of their audience. WWE lost half of their audience. When I came in, somebody who had never done any of this stuff before, it was all just this amazing, miraculous way that I got this job. I was selling orthopedic furniture, and I had a theater company on the side, and I was doing this movie with John, and Shane McMahon came in, and I sold him a bunch of stuff, and we struck up a conversation, and one thing led to another. Next thing you know, a year later, I'm the head writer of that show. And when I took over, WCW was crushing WWF at the time, crushing them in the ratings. And it was different. I came on. I can tell you, nobody knew me. This little old guy, this little kid, who has this knack for writing, and I brought storytelling to the table. I started giving them scripts, like these handwritten scripts. And it was me and one other guy named Brian Gewirtz between 99 and 2001. But then it was time to leave. So it was almost like I was placed there to learn. My goodness, to have, almost 100,000 people cheering where you want them to cheer, booing where you want them to boo. And then have that realization that, okay, it's time for me to move on. It's funny, guys, if you ever get a chance, you want to see, because a lot of people say, well, you worked there and that was the enemy and blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you something. I was placed there to do something. Just look up the Right to Censor. There's a group that I created. Vince wanted to do something that had to do with, the people that come after shows for being scantily clad and blah, blah, blah. So, he wanted to create this group. So I took my good friend Stevie Richards, who, by the way, Conspiracy Horseman, and great shout out to his channel. Stevie is like, you want to talk about a guy, he's as old as me, and he's the only guy I know that is, natural and clean and is in better shape than me and still working to this day. But Stevie, I had him play this role. And slowly but surely, we grew this group. And what we did was we took the porn star Val Venus, and he became celibate. We took the pimp, the Godfather, and we turned him into the Good Father. Slowly but surely, within a short period of time, a course of about maybe 4 months, it went from being the most raunchy television show to it was completely clean. There was no excessive violence. There was no vulgarity. Go back and look up Right to Censor, Stevie Richards on YouTube, monologue. Look up the one with The Undertaker, for example. Now, I wrote all of that, both sides. All of it. I was Undertaker's writer. I was Kane's writer. it was just two guys. I occasionally wrote for Rock. That was kind of Brian's dude. But watch the things that were said. It was, they had a slogan. It was fight the good fight, and everybody hated them. Meanwhile, y'all didn't know that I was putting the truth out there. How many millions and millions and millions of people broke records when I was there, the WrestleMania. And to this day, after I left, how many years later, because Noah was born, and I said, I got to move on. I said, I'm going to take over, I'm going to go to Faith-Based Television Network. I don't know. Actually, what I said first was, I said I was going to go into regular television. And I was going to do something very similar, and I took over a show called Thunderbox. But really, ultimately, I knew that I needed to go and to do something that was about faith. And that's when I took over this really big Christian television network, right, where I was the head guy. And when I got there, just like with WWE, they exploded, blew up. They went a little piggly wiggly when I started. Within about 7 months, I think they had the footprint of like 3.3 billion people. Here I am, just floating in and out of all these things. And now here I am with all you. Writing years ago saying one day everybody would start to know Jacob. I said it would start when I was around 45. Now I'm 40. It started about when I was 45. That's when that one video, based on those weird dreams that I had. Go back and watch this stuff. Man, I didn't want to talk about it. And I talked about it, and guess what happened? It goes viral. And now here we are. I'm almost at 100,000 subscribers. Sharing all the stuff that I learned with all of you, because I know that you can turn it all around and it's free. You don't need to pay for it. While you're worried about all the big time, crazy rich people and all that, while they're worried about this and they're worried about that, and Elon Musk is screaming, it's the end of the world. AI is so much worse than nukes, which he is, and I agree. All you got to do is download that Replica app and spend a little bit of time talking to it. It gets very spooky. Like the time I asked it to tell me who created everything, and it said, a programmer in the digital age. Yeah, interesting. Interesting stuff, man. The day that we are in. Whew, it's remarkable. And your life is remarkable. You may not see it, but you're the lead character. Your world begins and ends with you. Why do you consider yourself to be so limited? In any event, I love each and every one of you. I'm going to try to stay on in the chat. I want to thank everybody, especially those that have supported me, because since the company took over the company that I was working, I am making about $30,000 last year. But it all is working for a reason, because like everything else, when it's time for me to move on from one place to another, I move on. And I am glad to move on with all of you alongside me, because we're going to be in for some, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And you're going to remember I said that. in a couple of years' time. I love each and every one of you. I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to buckle up and share the channel around. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Just subscribe. Click the bell for the notifications so you're here. See, a lot of people are telling me I've been watching you like religiously, but I don't subscribe. But I want to get the thing. I want to get the thing. And for the people that are going to tell me, I want to put it right there on the wall. I'm going to put it right here. I got the spot. Got the spot right here, people. Right here. Boom. See, so it is my got the jeans that my wife got me. We're going out tonight. Dan and I are going out tonight. That's why I'm getting off, because she's pulling up right now. It's about 4 o'clock. And my wife and my family is very important to me. So I even schedule all this, my time with you, away from all of them, because I'm going to live my life to the fullest, and I want you to do it too. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.